Hey, I'm NichBoy, welcome to Pocket for Monday, the 1st of August. Today on the show, legal matters, dead demons, and what's coming out this week? Keep watching and I'll tell you. Alright, here's what's been making headlines. And yesterday, South Australian Senator Nick Xenophon called for many games to be redefined as gambling. And I, Xenophon, would like your last name to be redefined as a member on the periodic table. Xenophon told Fairfax Media that there are insidious games out there which are, quote, morphing into full-on gambling. He wants parents to be more aware and has called for an overhaul of the relevant Australian legislation to reflect that games like Counter-Strike Go are tantamount to gambling. Xenophon said about the Interactive Gambling Act of 2001 that it is, quote, 15 years old, but may as well be 150 years old in terms of dealing with these issues. The man may well have a point, but in a very clunky, soundbitey kind of way. He said, quote, instead of shooting avatars, parents soon find that their children have shot huge holes through their bank accounts. It's classic Xenophon. At this point, there are so few details on the matter that we can only speculate what the legislation changes would actually entail. Fairfax made a comparison to Japan's laws, which make it illegal for games to seek payment for items of varying value according to chance. A scary line of legislation for pretty much every mobile game out there. We could also see the introduction of prominent gambling content warnings, as well as age restrictions in line with gambling legislation. It is currently illegal for people under the age of 18 to gamble in Australia, and therefore even games which have been classified as G would be subject to 18+ restrictions if they included gambling content. Again, it's all speculation at this point, but when it comes to Nick Xenophon, you have to take him seriously. Meanwhile, Valve has widened its net for bringing down Counter-Strike gambling sites. Convergence. The company has issued cease and desist letters to another 20 websites, threatening legal action if they don't shut down within the next 10 days. The first batch of 23 shutdown notices were issued on July 20th, and most of those sites have folded. The few which are still in operation have until Wednesday to cease operation. And in more legal news, Kingdoms of Amalur developer 38 Studios are off the hook. After a 4-year investigation into the collapse of the developer, Rhode Island authorities concluded that they weren't criminals, just terrible businessmen. Rhode Island State Police Superintendent and apparent TV host moonlighter Stephen G. O'Donnell told the Boston Globe that, quote, a bad deal doesn't always equate to an indictment. With the studio itself cleared of criminal charges, the case will proceed against Wells Fargo, the Rhode Island Economic Development Corporation, and an individual who was involved in the case. It's probably Barjo. All right, now it's time for Thing of the Day. All right, now it's time for Thing of the Day. Despite having one of the most painfully slow walk animations ever, Zale managed to finish the original Diablo in 3 minutes and 12 seconds. Such strut. Alright, now it's time for Thing of the Day. Alright, it's time for This Week in Games, where I'll be doing what it says on the can, starting as always with the NPD stats for the week ending the 24th of July, and number 1 on that list, Grand Theft Auto 5. Number 2, Fallout 4. Number 3, Minecraft. Number 4, Monster Hunter Generations. Number 5, Call of Duty Black Ops 3. Number 6, Song of the Deep. Nice to have you with us, Song of the Deep. Number 7, Uncharted 4, A Thief's End. Number 8, Dishonored. Number 9, Overwatch. And number 10, Lego Star Wars, The Force Awakens. And dropping off the list this week are Doom, which I will miss saying, and Star Wars Battlefront. Alright, moving on to games coming out this week, starting tomorrow, August 2nd, with Batman, the Telltale series Episode 1, available on all devices that play your Telltales. I'm very excited for this game. You could even say I'm bat-sighted. It's bat-tastic. It's unbat-leavable. I can't think of a good bat word to convey my emotions, but put your best suggestion in the comments and I'll use them all. They're at least the good ones when we live stream the game this week. Now, moving on to another beloved intellectual property, and I Sunk Your Battleship. But not really, because you're a lying little shit, Ben, and you used to change your ship coordinates every time we played. Yes, Ubisoft have made a new version of the classic board game that you think you like, but is actually just a slow, awful slog with people you thought were your friends, like Ben, and it's coming to Xbox One and PS4. And speaking of beloved intellectual properties, let's play Risk, but not really, because it's a board game with one dominant strategy that always wins. Yes, Ubisoft have made a new version of the classic board game that you think you like, but don't, because over the course of a 7-hour campaign, most players just sit on the sidelines and watch as Ben amasses an unstoppable army while you're trying to actually add some fun and variance to what is otherwise a totally min-maxable board game, and it's coming to Xbox One, Xbox 360, PS4, and PS3. Cannon Brawl is Worms meets an RTS and is out on PS4 on the 2nd of this month, Xbox One on the 5th of this month, and PC on the 20th of September 2014. Don't Starve's latest expansion, Shipwrecked, comes to PS4 on the 2nd and brings with it tropical islands, new characters, and new awful ways to starve. And after forgetting to hit the publish button last week, This Is the Police developer Weepy Studio have assured me, personally, that the game will be coming out tomorrow on the 2nd. You can still save some face, Weepy, but you know who you can't save? Roy. Roy! And finally, for the second, Tricky Towers is a multiplayer Tetris stacker which is out for PS4 and PC and is also free this month on PS Plus. On the 3rd, the PS4 and PC are getting Abzu, a stunning underwater journey-esque adventure, so obviously people have heard my screams for more underwater games. Layers of Fear continues scaring you with potatoes with its new DLC Inheritance on PC, Antarctic survival game Near Death shows you how quickly a human body can freeze, and after being out for a year in Japan, Mobius Final Fantasy comes to Western iOS and Android phones. Plus, the Vive is getting some love with Everest, where you can scale the Great Mountain or become one of those dead bodies people use as a marker on their way up. Your choice. And staying with our snow theme that we have recently developed, Snow Horse drops on the 4th for PC, which feels like one of those games which is going to make PewDiePie $4 million. Platformica on PC is a puzzle platformer where you navigate around floating wind turbines, and also coming out on the 4th for Xbox One, PS4, and PC is Overcooked, the multiplayer cooking adventure that tore this little pocket family apart a few weeks ago. And lastly, on PC, on the 5th, Road to Brawlhalla, a new entry into the puzzle rolling genre, which weirdly enough is a genre I kinda enjoy. And this is also a rhythm game, and we all know how I feel about those. Alright, that's it for today's episode of Pocket. My Pocketeers, let me know if there are any games coming out this week that I have missed or what on this list tickles your fancy. Let me know in the comments, and while you're on the internet, check out Good Game on Facebook, YouTube, and iView. Want to meet fellow Pocketeers? Of course you do, because they're lovely and they're all so good looking. Not that that's important. I mean, looks aren't important, but I'm just saying, it's a nice bonus. Then join the Pocketeers Facebook group and Steam group. You can follow Good Game on Twitter at Good Game TV, follow Pocket at NichBoy, at Pierre, at GG and at Sam Yee. There are links to everything I just said in the description below. Today's Thing of the Day graphic was made by Rebecca Lyons Wright. If you've made a thing like Becky, then please send it in until tomorrow, NichBoy out. Mwah! Rebecca, I hope you're fine with me calling you Becky. You are.